Welcome to today's deep dive. For the last 5 years or so, cultural commentators have basically been writing these endless obituaries for the suit.
Yeah, constantly.
Right. But today, we're jumping into the article we are discussing to unpack why this widely reported death of the suit is just, well, a complete lie.
Total myth, honestly.
Exactly. Because the way I see it, tailoring right now is a lot like vinyl records. It's no longer mandatory for everyone to own, but it's thriving precisely because people are now choosing it with intention.
That is a great analogy. The loss of obligation is actually, it's what saved the garment.
How so?
Well, for decades, the suit was just this invisible corporate uniform, right? You wore it so you wouldn't get fired. Now, putting one on is a deliberate statement.
I hear that, but I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. Are we absolutely sure we aren't just confusing a, temporary post-COVID return to office mandate with some massive fashion revolution?
It's a fair question. But the hard data in the article we are discussing points to something much deeper than just commuting again. I mean, John Lewis reported suit sales jumping 68% year over year.
Wow, 68%.
Yeah. And the premium menswear market is projected to hit nearly $196 billion by 2030.
That is insane.
Right. So the compulsory, uncomfortable, cheap office suit, that is definitely fading. What's replacing it is this idea of intentional tailoring. Men aren't buying suits because HR demands it anymore. They're buying them to stand out.
So if you're no longer forced to wear a suit, and you're buying one specifically to make a statement, I imagine the cheap, mass-produced polyester ones are just taking a huge hit.
Oh, absolutely. They're tanking.
Because you kind of have to invest in the actual architecture of the garment now, right?
You do. And we're really seeing that shift in the 2026 trends. The fits are finally balanced. Not super skinny, not overly baggy.
Right.
And there's this big return to double-breasted cuts, wider peak lapels, and richer textures like linen or these nice earth tones. Men are dressing to specific archetypes now.
Like the article we were discussing mentioned the refined look or that textured, rugged aesthetic.
Exactly. And financially, they're justifying the higher prices through this cost-per-wear logic.
Oh, I love this part. Break that math down for us.
So a $1,000 suit worn 50 times is basically $20 a wear. But a $200 suit that falls apart after 5 wears, that's $40 a wear.
It's the classic cheap boots theory. Buying cheap, disposable fashion is actually the most expensive mistake you can make.
Spot on. McKinsey actually terms this the quality-led survival era. In a market where nobody has to buy your clothes, brands only survive if they offer real durability.
Fast fashion just can't compete with that intentionality. That structural shift makes total sense. But taking it beyond just the economics, the article we are discussing dives really deep into the psychology of all this too.
Yeah, the behavioral impact is fascinating.
It is. How a good piece of tailoring actually changes your behavior.
Right. They brought up MIT Sloan's research on enclothed cognition.
Yes, that was wild.
It really is. The mechanism is that your brain unconsciously associates the symbolic meaning of an outfit, like the authority of a tailored jacket, with your own physical state.
So you literally stand taller.
Exactly. Your posture improves, and you actually perform better on cognitive tasks because your brain just adopts the traits it associates with clothes.
And it changes how others perceive you too. I mean, the survey showing roughly 80% of women find suited men more attractive, pretty hard to ignore.
Very hard to ignore.
But this brings up a stance in the article we were discussing that I found, well, honestly, pretty controversial. The author insists you should never let your significant other dress you.
Yeah, he draws a very hard line there.
Which seems counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
If the goal is to be attractive, shouldn't you just literally ask what they like?
You'd think so. But the underlying logic is all about authenticity. If someone else dictates your style, you aren't actually expressing yourself. You're just kind of cosplaying the guy your partner finds attractive.
Oh, I see.
True attraction stems from a man signaling his own competence and self-respect. When you choose the suit yourself, you own the narrative.
Okay, so if the psychological and social benefits of owning your look are really that powerful, why did we ever let, Silicon Valley tech fleece and athleisure take over the world for the last decade?
Well, because convenience is incredibly seductive.
True.
But the article we are discussing argues the fleece vest wasn't some new standard of style. It was an abdication of standard dignity. It was a uniform communicating, basically, that I have decided not to participate in the conversation of image.
Just opting out completely.
Yeah.
But look at Gen Z right now. Their style is incredibly fluid. It's highly experimental, very body first. Won't that eventually kill traditional tailoring for good?
Not at all. Timeless things don't die, they adapt.
How so?
Well, Gen Z is absolutely experimenting with proportions and breaking gender norms, but they're still using the underlying language of tailoring to do it. They're throwing a structured blazer over a crop top or pairing it with baggy jeans.
Right, so the suit is just adapting to these new subcultures.
Precisely. It never goes away.
So the ultimate takeaway here for you listening is that an intentional suit signals competence. Think about the last time you put on a perfectly tailored jacket. Your posture changes before you even look in the mirror. You literally step into a sharper version of yourself.
Exactly. You're raising your own baseline.
Which leaves us with a really fascinating final thought to mull over. If enclothed cognition is a biological reality, if putting on a structured quality suit genuinely raises your self-efficacy and performance, what does a society entirely dressed in casual sweatpants permanently do to our collective ambition?